Have you ever felt like motherhood and homemaking can often feel like a really long season of planting seeds, just waiting for growth and wondering if the harvest will ever come? Since starting gardening this year, I have felt so much of my life has resembled gardening. The hard seasons can really feel endless, but eventually, with patience and care, new life and beauty begins to bloom. Today, I want to talk about what it feels like to walk through a difficult season, whether it's in motherhood, homemaking, or just life in general, and how they shape us for this new seasons ahead. I'm Deborah from Barefoot Bites. Come along with me today while I tend to my garden. Since becoming a mom of three, I've started to think of the early days of motherhood or just when I started out in homemaking, and as I reflect, I consider this the planting season. When you start out, you're laying down seeds, the waking up early, making meals, teaching your kids, keeping up with the endless pile of laundry, and the effort often feels heavy because you don't see the immediate results, especially when you're in the season with many littles. It's hard to see the big picture and what the future might hold when you're in the trenches of sleepless nights or financial challenges, but every seed you plant really does matter. The work you do today may not show fruit tomorrow, but it's creating a foundation. Just like in the garden, there's unseen work happening beneath the surface, and all it takes is just some patience. After the planting season always comes the dreaded waiting season, and if you're anything like me, being patient may not come naturally. Once you've planted the seeds, now comes the nurturing, the care, and sometimes just the wondering and intrusive thoughts. Is what I'm doing enough? Am I enough? Will this season of struggle really ever end? And I constantly find myself in this cycle of I'm crushing motherhood and I'm tending to my home, then immediately feeling like I'm just a big failure in every aspect. And this is where faith, patience, and consistency really will come into play. In this part of motherhood and homemaking, it's really easy to get discouraged, especially in this day and age of social media where everyone shows the perfectly curated moments of their lives. But reality can really hit when it's the days when the kids are constantly getting sick, the budget is tight, and the house feels like it's falling apart. You're doing the work day in and day out, but it doesn't always feel rewarding at the moment. But like a garden, growth really, really does take time. Water your efforts with grace and give yourself permission to not have it together. I truly learned that lesson this gardening season. This was my first year of gardening on my deck. Well, gardening really much ever, except when I was a kid. I used to garden with my mom, but this time I was on my own. And many times I just wanted to throw in the towel because I started too late, or I wasn't seeing the results quickly, or I just didn't know what I was doing. That's where grace comes in. You just have to let go and just leave it to God and let Him figure things out. And as long as you're doing the work, you just need to let it go. I've come to learn that every garden has weeds, and so does every season of life. The weeds could be doubt, comparison, or fear that creeps in and threatens to choke the life out of the good that's growing. And maybe it's unexpected circumstances like a job loss or a personal struggle that you're walking through that feels like a storm cloud is just hovering over your home and just will not go away. For me, it was earlier this year. I was about 6 months postpartum with 2 toddlers. My husband and I were both working full-time from home, with our children being with us as well. I thought I had it all together, but in reality, I really was barely sleeping due to breastfeeding on demand. We had no help or family support. My kids were literally sick every other week, and my home was just being neglected. I was completely overburdened, overwhelmed, and constantly stressed. I barely remember that time period because it honestly feels like a blur. But I do remember at some point my head started to hurt, and I ignored it. For about a week, it felt like. And one night I really couldn't ignore it anymore. I looked so worn down, and my husband told me to check my blood pressure. I remember seeing the number 145 over 90 and just being in complete shock. I tried to rest, but I couldn't, and I couldn't get my blood pressure to go down, and it just kept rising. I ended up at the hospital, and by then my blood pressure was at 180 over 92. While I was at the hospital, they were able to get my blood pressure down, and I was released by the morning. This was really a wake-up call to me that something had to change. The important thing to remember is to pull out the weeds before they take over, to address the challenges in your life head on, and in motherhood and homemaking, this might look like asking for help, or taking a day of rest, or simply being honest with yourself about what needs to change. For me, it was making a plan on prioritizing rest and leaving the workforce. I want you to remember that storms do come, but they also pass. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, even when it feels super dark. Do you ever notice that one day you just begin to see the growth? And it really is small at first, whether it's your baby who finally slept through the night, your home feels like it's running a bit smoother, or maybe you just had a personal breakthrough. This is the season when you realize all those hard days, the planting, the waiting, the nurturing, they really weren't in vain. You've grown too, and you're stronger, and you're more resilient, and you're more capable. Just like a garden, you've weathered the storms, you've pulled out the weeds, and you've tended to the soil of your life. And now the fruit of your labor is really starting to show. And this is when you see that light at the end of the tunnel. Finally, the season of harvest has come, and the beauty of motherhood and homemaking is that it's not just about survival. It really is about creating life of abundance, and abundance in love and joy and peace. And there's going to be messy moments all mixed up in that, but it really is about those things. And the hard seasons make the harvest all the more rewarding. There's nothing more satisfying than reaping what you've sown, seeing the fruits of your labor, and the moments of joy in motherhood, and the sweet times with your family and the home you've built, and they're your harvest. It's so much more meaningful because of the journey it took to get here. And once you're in that moment, you really start to enjoy that time and the effort it took to get there. So if you're in that hard season right now, I want to remind you that seasons do change. The planting and waiting seasons can really be tough, but keep going. Keep making those changes that you need to make, and keep watering those seeds, keep nurturing the life that you're building, because you know what? The harvest truly is coming, and there's a new season of growth and beauty ahead. Through the challenges that I walked earlier this year, and to see where I'm at now, I ended up leaving the workforce in May, and it was such a burden that was lifted off my chest. I felt like I could breathe again. But I won't lie, I still get those Sunday scaries, feeling like I have to be reporting to work on Monday. But now I'm in that season of seeing the work that me and my husband put in, and being able to enjoy this season of motherhood and in homemaking. And it's been really sweet, and I'm just so grateful for being able to get through what I did, to be able to see that light at the end of the tunnel. I want to thank you for spending this time with me today, and if this resonated with you, please share your own journey in the comments. Let's encourage each other to keep going one season at a time. Remember, you are not alone in this garden of life, and until next time, I will see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to follow for more content on motherhood, homemaking, and living a life of intentionality. And I will see you soon. Bye.